All right, so let's do this real quick. All right, so I kind of sent you my idea, but let me start off by letting everyone know that Lou is probably my most interesting friend. Juan is my rudest friend by far, but Lou might be the most interesting. When I tell you that this man right here put on the best talent show ever, 2 years in a row, ain't no lie. All right, he's a man of many talents, from hip hop to dancing to sales to MMA, car sales, a podcaster in his own right, and just all around an amazing dad. So let the record state: Lou Bebo Vazquez.
I dig it, man. Thank you.
Hey man, so I've been wanting to get on your podcast too, but I'm just waiting on my invite. I keep waiting. Don't worry about it. No, nobody wants to have a jiu-jitsu black belt on their podcast anymore. Everyone's got a jiu-jitsu black belt nowadays.
I'm gonna get everybody on. I still haven't gotten L on or any. Juan is the only one actually of the homies. Angel,
Yes, yeah,
Juan, and Jim.
yeah. I see the logo.
Yeah,
That's dope. Dang, I need Juan. I need to get a logo so I can put Juan stuff. I'll put him on my hat.
That's an old patch he gave me.
Ah. All right. So the way I figure I want to do this with you is a little different because you're a little different.
A little bit.
So if you want to first, tell everybody like how you grew up, because I know you have a different connection because from northeast to southeast. So that way people can kind of get a picture. So that way when we get into like that hip hop space and all that, it'll make a lot more sense.
Well, I was born in New York, right? I was the only one out of five of us that was born. There's six of us, but five of us were born in New York. The only one not born in Brooklyn. Everybody was born in Brooklyn. My older brothers, my older sister, and my little brother was born in Brooklyn. I was born in St. Luke's Hospital in Manhattan. I think the story is that my mom was visiting my grandpa I think he lived off of Amsterdam. So St. Luke's, 114th Street. That's where I was born. I don't know if she took the train while she was like 9 months pregnant or whatever, and I ended up.
It's wild.
Whatever. So from New York, we came down to Miami. I lived in Miami. And then this was during Hurricane Andrew. Hurricane Andrew hit, was 92 or 93. My mom said, screw that, I'm going back to Brooklyn. So we went back to Brooklyn for another few years. And then in 96, finally settled in Miami again, 88th Street and Kendall Drive. And that's where we remain. And we remain in Florida ever since. Was there till about maybe 2000. Moved to 137th and Miller Square. And then in 2003, moved up to Kissimmee, and that's where I met you and my wife, and most of the homies. But you're the only one that I still speak with from 2003, other than my boy Jamaica, that I talk to him once in a while. And
Jamaica.
2003. Dude, my parents bought a house in 06 in Kissimmee, and then 2010, 2011. Leo, my son was born, and ended up in Sanford in 2016 to 17 in Sanford, because I got a great opportunity working at the dealership that I worked for before, and bought a house in DeBerry. So now I'm in DeBerry. I've been here ever since
DeBerry.
2017. DeBerry
The
or
brownest
DeBerry?
man in DeBerry. The brownest man. Because I moved out, so you the brownest man in DeBerry now.
In my neighborhood, yeah, true. So yeah, that's about it. That's my little story, man. Obviously typical, Hispanic growing up in bad areas and stuff like that, because of what the way it was for me growing up. Money and my family making a lot of bad financial decisions and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm here. God is good. God is great. God showed me the path not to take. And I just, whatever I saw my family do, I decided to do the opposite. So I'm
It's
blessed to
worked
be here.
out.
It's worked out so far. So I'm blessed to be here, and that's that. That's my little story. Yeah, that's about
All
it.
right, so the other parts that you know, Lou, I know you had a pretty prolific rap career, especially in those
Prolific.
'06, '07 days.
Yeah, yeah.
If you want to tell the story about the most famous, group at the time that you opened up for, I
Yeah.
remember that story.
Yeah, man. I actually I started rapping. My older brother would go to Puerto Rico every summer. My older brother and my sister. I was the baby until '96, so my parents didn't allow me to go to Puerto Rico. So my brother would come back from Puerto Rico with all these Spanish rap. Like it was Spanish rap merging into reggaeton, like old school reggaeton at that time. So he would come back with tapes, and then he used to make me beatbox. Like, hey, beatbox, and then he used to rap in Spanish. And I was like, man, at that time, growing up, my older brother was my idol, man. I swear he was like the greatest basketball player in my eyes. Watching him play street ball, like I looked up to him. Um, Even when he did a lot of mistakes, I actually learned from him. Everything that he did, again, I didn't do. So I learned from him. Because of him, I am where I am. But so I started rapping, and then from like '99 to about 2003, 2004, he went on vacation, and he
We'll call it
forcefully
that.
he was on forceful vacation, and so I was like, man, I'm gonna start rapping in English because I don't even know Spanish that well. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like stealing rhymes from him. But since he was on vacation, nobody ever heard him before. So I was stealing rhymes from him, and this was like 2000. I was going to like Glades and then Macmillan Middle School, and they used to call me Little Curly because I had long curly hair, and I was rhyming in English. But anyways, long story short, I've been rhyming since like 2000 and making little ghetto mixtapes and stuff like that. And but in 2006, I was in this rap group called Us Florida Boys, and it was funny because I was born in New York, and then the other three cats, they were Jamaican, born in Jamaica, and but we were called Us Florida Boys. But I don't know who got the gig, but we ended up opening for Pretty Ricky, Lil Boozy, and Lil Webby at the time, and this was circa '06,
This
'05,
was this
'06.
was their peak, bro. This was like, I mean, selling out. Like
This
these
was
guys ran the
when
South.
Pretty Ricky dropped Grind on Me, and it was like taking off. It wasn't like off yet, but it was taking off. That little old me opened up for them at the St. Pete I think it was the Armory Forum in St. Pete. It was like near Tampa,
I
and
think it's called the St. Pete Times Forum now.
so we opened up for them, and I tell you, I was the most light skinned guy there. It was a great experience. Everybody was looking at me like, man, who are these guys? These guys are gonna make it. And I used to rap so fast, not like Twista or Busta Rhymes, but I was pretty fast, and they thought I was gonna make it. It was cool, man. It was like an experience and stuff like that. So that was like the biggest thing. And then from that, I was like, man, I need to graduate high school, and man, I ain't going nowhere with this rap stuff. So yeah, I had to find another outlet, and then jujitsu and stuff like that came about.
So then, technically, like the reason why I'm in jujitsu is because of you. Like, because you peer pressured me into going to my first ever jujitsu class. So if you want to tell that story about us watching Mikey Gomez on TV and then you doing all the work.
Well, actually, before that, it was remember we used to have Friday night fights.
Oh yeah.
We had Friday night fights. So I've always been into, other than music, I've always been into boxing, man. We grew up watching boxing, Trinidad. It was funny because we're Puerto Rican, but we were big Chavez fans. Like Chavez, it was Tito. Tito was the man. Tito Trinidad, he was the man. But Chavez was just like, I don't know, our family, like we love Tito and Roy Jones, but Chavez was just like on a different level. That was around the time, Mike went away. He went on vacation
He
too,
went on vacation too.
and but eventually he got out, and we saw Mike. He was still great, but it was just like his downfall was starting. Not mental. His mental downfall was starting, not his physical attributes, because he was still a killer. But
Yeah.
so I've always liked boxing. So I don't know how it came about, because you were always an athlete, and and I was never an athlete because I'm short, you know. So I don't know how it came about, but I think we started watching The Ultimate Fighter, right? The Ultimate Fighter really piqued our interest, and then we're like, "Yo, let's have Friday night fight." You like, "Yo, let's do Friday night fights in my house. I'll buy mats and everything." You bought the wrestling mats, and
Yeah.
and I think your brother Andy was wrestling at the time. I think he was
Hmm.
wrestling, so we would like do Friday night fights, and I made a big hole in your mama's wall. I'm sorry, Marisol. I'm sorry about that. I never got a chance to fix it, but
They sold the house. It's straight.
yeah,
It's straight.
they sold
It's
the
in the
house, but
past. We used to. I remember. Yeah, that was crazy. We used to invite all these people to my house and just start putting on gloves and throwing down.
it was crazy. We were nuts. No mouthpiece and nothing like that. It was insane. And then I was like, man, why don't we just do this for real? Like, why don't we just like train to fight? And so I'm like, yo, there's a place called Gracie Baja. And then you're like, okay, yeah, where is it? I'm like, Sand Lake. It's Sand Lake. And then we didn't know about the other spots until afterwards, obviously. And
Yeah.
and then we took a class together, and it was awesome. I think what was it, an armbar? That was the first thing that we learned.
Yeah.
The first class in at Sand Lake, Gracie Baja and Sand Lake.
Yo, and they let us roll. That's the part that, like,
Yeah, that
when
was
I look
weird.
back, I'm like, yo, they let us roll with other white belts that, like, because remember, I rolled with Jamaica. Well, no, not Jamaica, Bahama. The big
Bahama,
Bahamian dude.
yes. You guys
Bro, this
fought
dude's like
Bahama.
6'3", big, yoke that used to do judo. And
Yeah,
I still remember, I'm like, all right, like, what did they say? Roll, then we roll, fuck it. And they only taught me one move, so that's all I knew how to do.
I forgot Bahamas was in that class. He had started a little bit before you, but he was like at least like a purple belt in judo. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but
when you
he
signed
got
up,
armbarred on day one. Day one.
yeah, you had that. It was just like you always been a smart person. Like you analyze stuff and you analyze stuff and then it clicks in your head like Leo. That's why you're Leo's godfather. You guys, it's crazy because he just analyzes something and then he learns it and it's insane. So you always had that niche because obviously your jiu-jitsu level just like skyrocketed and I just stayed down here and you just was putting cats to sleep 3 months into training jiu-jitsu. We're competing and you was putting cats to sleep on a different level. It was insane.
Bro, it was not like that at all. At least not from my perspective. Like,
No, you were putting cats to
I
sleep.
do remember, like, you doing certain things that I was like athletically, especially, like, because you're a smaller, compact dude. So, like, you would, like, be trying to escape something and do a back handspring. And I'd be like, what
Yeah.
the fuck was that? Like, where'd that come from? Like that, those what the fuck moments, like you were full of them. Even like the craziest thing is that you would do those things like in a tournament setting or like in an MMA fight. Like just, bro, I trained with you every day for 2 months and you didn't do this shit once. And that's the first thing that comes to your mind.
That it was so weird because and I talk about it a lot too, like fighting versus in the practice room. Um, and everybody told me like in the practice room, I was always the smallest person, so I didn't want to get hurt before the fight, so I would shy away and not engage. But then in the fight, I didn't give a damn. I was like, yeah, I'm going in right there. Oh my god, you're so different when you fight, But like in the practice room, I was like, whatever. But yeah, it was a good time. Definitely good times, man. Yeah, you signed up before me, and I signed up like a month later, and I mean, yeah, it took off. It just took over our lives, Like I think that changed a lot in our lives, man. Like because
It changed the direction that we went. Like
yeah,
everything changed from that point forward. Like we went from, it became like not like the epicenter, but like the thing that was always there for us. Does that make sense? Like
yeah,
jujitsu and like the not only the people, but like the art itself. Like I had a topic that I could talk about with anyone in that room, right? Like we all have this in common. So like there's doctors and people that just
cops.
just went on vacation, all in one place and like all coexisting and all like, bro, if the United States was like the jiu-jitsu mats, everything would be fine.
Yeah, word
Like
up, yeah,
everything would be fine. Like what the hierarchy is in the jiu-jitsu world is: can you whoop me or can't you whoop me? That's it. It's simple, bro. It doesn't matter how big you are, how fast you are. Like, if you can whoop me, you get to stand in front of me in line, dog. That's it.
yeah,
It's that simple, right?
yeah. it's something humbling about that. Like you're having a bad day, you're just having a bad day, but something humbling about going to the gym and just like kind of you don't. I don't want to say unleashing because at the end of the day we're training partners, and we try not to whoop each other too bad, but nothing humbling about having a bad day and just like, man, you know what? I need to blow off the steam in my head. Like whatever the situation is, you go in there and you get humbled quick, right? And like within the first 5 minutes, right? Like you like whatever's going on in your life, like even when you're drilling, you're like, oh man, I'm this. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. And then, all right, guys, when the coach goes, okay, it's time to roll. And then you go in there, and then the first 5 minutes, like that one guy that wants to do IBJJF like style, and just like, oh man, and then but in the moment it sucks, right? Going 5 rounds, 5 rounds, 6 minute rounds and stuff like that for five straight minutes or even 30 minutes straight. That ride home was always a good feeling, depending if you did well that day. It was a great feeling, right? Like, oh man, I did great, man, I did great. But if you got like, you know, just like washed back to back to back to back, going against you, going against L, going against Thrasher, and just like bam, 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 it's like a murderer's row. Like it's like I put the volume all the way down.
She's riding in silence like that.
And I'm just riding in silence, holding in my tears, like Jesus Christ, bro. Like. But at the end of the day, like it's humbling though. Like it's a good feeling to just exert all that emotion that you're feeling because you're having a bad day or whatever.
Bro, I can't tell you how many times like I went to jujitsu with like a frustration or something, just life shit, and I'll just look around and I'm like, who is the baddest motherfucker in here? And just and the reason why wasn't because like that I'm looking for the baddest guy, wasn't because I wanted to win. It was because I needed someone that I could let loose. Yeah. Like I needed someone like that could handle it, that wouldn't be offended and wouldn't get hurt, and that wouldn't hurt me. So I'm like, yo, whoever the baddest dude in the room is, I'm coming. So like L doesn't know that. Like at first, when I first started training with L, that's what I was doing.
Yeah, he didn't know
like
either.
He didn't know me, but I knew that he was physically strong. He was good. He wasn't going to try and hurt me, and I really wasn't trying to hurt him, but I could go 120%. Does that make sense? Like, I didn't have to hold anything back, so I could, like, release.
That makes perfect sense. And I was having a discussion with him not too long ago where I told him, I was like, hey, man, there was a time that Erik was more technical than you. And he goes, no. I'm like, yeah, Erik was very technical, through the years because life happens. He continued and you kind of, like, did it. But I'll tell you what, guys, if you're watching this, Erik didn't train in maybe a couple years. He did train last year after not training a couple years and still put a whooping on a lot of people. There was a lot of people. He still put a whooping on people. Thrasher was salivating. He was like, oh, let me get him. But you still put a whooping on a lot of people, black belts too. I don't want to name names, but
so what people don't know is I've had 2 foot surgeries now. So like I actually had one smaller procedure to help clean some stuff up. It's probably been 3 months. So like,
okay.
Yeah. So I had a total reconstruction of my left foot, and it was just, I easily have 6 or 7 screws in my foot. So when I came back to train, like, I only went legit because, it was Juan and L or whatever. And so, I was like, I even told L, I was like, I have 5 minutes of hell that I can give one person, and that's it. That's all I got. Because my foot, I knew, I was like, yo, my foot's going to give out. Like, I won't have anything else. Like, my foot's going to give out. Like, my ankle's not stable, right? And then I knew, I was like, man, Juan's going to do something stupid to start. And he did. Like, he pulled half guard. And I was like, this is the one position that, bro, I could live here. Like, I'm good. Then I was like, why didn't this man not try and, play on top or anything? He just pulled half guard. I'm like, all right, say less. Okay. But, yeah, so.
Practicing that in his mind all day. Like, that day, Juan was like, yeah, Erik's coming. All right.
Isn't that, like, such a jiu-jitsu thing to do, though? Like, when you know like that training partner that is like your adversary is coming. You spent like, yo, you go to the bathroom that day at work. You're like, oh fuck this guy up today. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. And in your head, like you're.
I wish I could say that because me being small and like I don't want to use my size as an excuse because there's guys like Bruno Malfacini, right? But like me being small and not as explosive as strong as his, I can't say that like you and all the guys. But when it comes to like sparring, like boxing sparring, like yeah, I get that. But jiu-jitsu is just like a different world, y'all. You know, but yeah, I'm gonna get some good rounds with him. I'm gonna get. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. When it comes to boxing, like yeah. All right, yeah.
Bro, we used to do this thing. Hanato would do this thing where all like the schools would come to headquarters, right? And then we sit in first. Like, yo, Hanato can talk, man. Like he, at a drop of a hat, he can give you a motivational speech. Like, boom, he has it. So like, we'll be sitting there right to start, and you know everyone gets an order. And at the time, you know, I'm a brown belt, right? And all these brown belts, like, I let them sit in front of me in line. Because I was like, all right, don't worry. They all rush to get to their spot. I'm like, okay. I'm like keeping mental receipts of like, all right, literally looking at their gi patches and stuff. Because you remember, like, I wear contacts. So when I'm doing jiu-jitsu, I don't have them on. So I'm like trying to remember like parts of their body that I could see from far away. So like they have a bright yellow patch or some shit. I'm like, all right, bright yellow patch brown belt. I got to get him, like keeping mental notes. And literally L's over there like looking at me like whoop all of them. I'm like, all right. And bro, I ran through, and I remember like there are some black brown belts that were like, bro, 6'4", 250. All right. Hey, you're on the list. And that was really how, like, after that, like, going to some of those and, like, where everyone was like, yeah, you kind of got to give this guy, just give it to him, dog, because if not, it's going to look bad.
Yeah, you was killing those guys, man, that was training with Hanato, you know what I'm saying, like, every day.
Yo, and Hanato had some killers, you know, bro, that dude Siraj was, he was about it, bro. He was about it. There was a lot of, bro, he had some monsters, especially like, and it's weird because like of his size, like his style of, he's like a grinder, he's a bully, but he's your size.
Yeah, he's a little bit taller than
yeah.
It's funny how
so it's so crazy, like how, like jiu-jitsu, like you can make it whatever you want. Like, cause then there's other people like they're same thing. Like Mikey Muzumeki, right? His style is such, like his style is like fucking art, bro. Like it's like a painting. Like you don't even have to like. There's no shit. Like yes, he's strong. Yes, he's athletic. Yes, like the kid never gets. I've never seen him tired from 13 years old to now. I've never seen him tired. Like yes, all those things. But he's so technically beautiful and sound. Like, when you watch him move, I'm like, wow, that was there. Like, there's so many, like, oh my God, that's there? From that position, that's there? Like, those aha moments. And then you have, like, a similar body type, and all he, smash. Like, legit. Like, think, like, there's the Hulk, and then there's an assassin. Like, none of them is wrong. It's just what you did with your jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, Mikey used to come to the gym when he was a kid, and yeah, you remember he was a kid winning adults Miami Open IBJJF. Like he was like 14, 15. How the hell he get away with that in the first place? Like how the hell did they allow him?
The IBJJF was really lenient back then, but like I remember training with Mikey when he was like 13, 14 years old. And yeah, he would drive up for the weekend and train like Friday, Saturday, and then dip on Sunday, or do like a private with Bruno on Sunday. And like you knew then, I was like, well, the only thing that's going to matter is what weight class is he going to be the world champion at? Like that's the only question, is what weight class, because he could just pick whichever one. Like and it's a testament to him because it's 100% his drive. Like the dude's not a freak athlete. Like athletically, like yes, is he flexible? Yes, he's above average flexibility. But it's technical prowess. Like he's winning jujitsu with what's in between his ears. It's not anything else. Like that's just a fact. And I think he would even say that. Like he's not. He knows he's not the best athlete. Like there were times where Bruno was the best athlete in the weight class. And I knew Bruno was also very technically sound. So that combination of things made him almost impossible to deal with. But Mikey was never, and I don't even now was never and is never the best athlete. Like if you time Mikey's 40-yard dash and his bench press and do all these other measurements, like if you put Mikey through the NFL Combine and everyone in that weight class through the NFL Combine, Mikey might be last.
Yeah,
He might be last, like legit, like he.
that's true.
But if you're doing jujitsu with him, you're fucked. Like it's all the kid knows. It's all the kid has done. Like he's a jujitsu genius. That's really what it is, and it's a testament to his work ethic because so many kids like put in that work that he was doing at 10, 12, and 13 and then burn out or find a girlfriend and then don't want to do it or do all those things, and he didn't get any of those distractions. So he's earned the right to be the best in the world because he's legit busted his ass. He's busted his ass.
Like you said, it was his drive because his parents were the ones that supported him and Tammy, his sister. And
Yeah.
And typically, what we see, growing up is, especially you, because your mom always put you, your parents always put you in sports, like team sports. You see that parents pushing their kids, and then when your kids become 18, they rebel, and then they don't go back because they got pushed so hard. But Mikey was just on a different world. Him and his sister, like this the drive. And I think when he got his black belt, he was 22, maybe 21, and
21, I think. Yeah.
he was thrown into the echelons, beat Bruno. Like he beat Bruno, and it wasn't like a Bruno that was on a downhill. It was still Bruno at his prime. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, and this is the other thing that
was at Rooster, or was that at Feather when he beat Bruno?
Light Feather.
That was like
The first time I like Feather and then I Rooster. But what like a lot of people don't realize is like a lot of these guys that came up through the ranking, like Jamel Hill and all those guys, like Mikey was fighting those as a kid.
Yeah.
Like and then what would happen is like he was still a brown belt because he's not 21 yet, and Jamel Hill gets his black belt because he's 21, and then the dude is like in the quarterfinals or finals of worlds at featherweight. And Mikey is just whooping up on these poor, unsuspecting kids that have like that. Bro, if you were a kid and you saw that name in your division, you moved on. You're like, nah.
I met him at the Miami Open, and we were in the same.
Oh, he's amazing.
I had no idea who he was. He was like 15, 16 years old, and he goes, "Oh, you train with Bruno?" And I thought he was Brazilian at first. I'm like, "Yeah, I train with Bruno." He goes, "Oh man, I'll see you in the finals." I'm like, "Oh my god, this guy, he has so much confidence in me." And I was like, "Who the hell is this kid?" He ended up winning the whole damn thing.
Of course.
I think I got. I didn't even place that year, and I was like, "Who the hell is this kid?" And then he would come up and stuff like that. He was just on a different level. Like him and the brothers, those guys are amazing.
Rotullo brothers.
Those guys are crazy, man. They're so good, and they fight each other.
They're so good.
They fight each other every day.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just the same thing though. Like they never let any distractions get in their way. Those kids are athletic. Like they'll walk on their hands. They're strong. Mikey's is literally just, bro, it's here. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't know if Mikey hears this, bro. I'm not saying that you're not in shape. I know you're in shape. You work hard. But, like, you're not bench pressing more than some of these other rooster weights. Like, you're not squatting more than some of those. What you are doing is jujitsu better than all of them. That's 100% what it is.
Talent, skill, and drive. What's a perfect example?
Yeah.
Not comparing him to this guy, but Tom Brady, right? Who the
Yeah,
fuck
Tom
is
Brady's not the best athlete.
in
He's
the year
not
2000? Who was he? You know, the
nobody.
2001. That's when he came on. But like,
Bro, he was Drew Bledsoe's backup.
even still in 2001, that season, like even still, like who's Tom Brady? Who is this guy?
But even if you look at Tom Brady, right? Like he's not the strongest. He doesn't have the
Yes,
biggest arm. He's not fast.
didn't run
He's
fast.
just smarter. That's it. And I don't mean like he's smarter in football terms, right? Like he just knows what the defense is doing, even though he's not supposed to know what the defense is doing, right? So it's just like Tom Brady actually I think is the perfect comp for Mikey because like
Yeah.
yo he knows what you're doing. Like I'm sorry, I know you're more athletic. I know like on paper you should beat me, but I know jujitsu more than you.
Yeah.
Tom Brady just knows football more than you. That's it. It's perfect.
That is perfect right there. Because you're right. But this, that shows you that how different um, grappling in general is. Jiu-jitsu mainly. I don't know much about wrestling, but just like grappling is just like these guys that are ripped and six packed and they could jump high and leap far. And then they go against a guy that has like a little gut or whatever, and then you get submitted in like many different
It's the
ways.
craziest thing.
It's insane.
The
Like it's
craziest thing.
yeah, it's just weird.
I love it.
You don't
I
know.
love it.
You,
It's just more of a mental thing. It's physical too, yeah, but
yeah, it is
it's
physical.
it's mental. All right, so let's get into a little bit of like how hip hop has changed because I can't like is it me? Am I old? I'm that grumpy old man on the porch now. Like this mumble rap shit is not for me.
Nah, I like old school all day. All day old school classics. There's some guys that I still, I listen to everything because I just have to listen to everything because I love music that much. I just love music that much. But I'm not attracted to the new wave. I get the new wave because in hip hop, if you look at hip hop from the beginning, the essence of it was always different. It was always, why are they dressing like that? In the beginning of hip hop, these guys used to dress like astronauts. If you look at Melly Mel and the Furious Five and those cats, they were dressing like literally they were going out of space. Like if you look at it, it's questionable too. They had two tops and it was just weird. And then eventually it evolved to um, like Adidas and like more street clothes, and then from there it evolved and it kept
Turn it like
evolving.
gangster
Yeah,
rap.
yeah, it kept evolving. Then P Diddy, Puffy in the '90s with the shiny suits, and then Tupac and Biggie with the Versace, and then that changed that because it went from Adidas like streetwear, affordable clothes to Versace and Adidas and like expensive stuff, right? And then it's just like hip hop in general like keeps changing, and I get the sound. That's what's it. Auto tune is like bigger now than what it was with T Pain and stuff like that. But I'm not feeling the new stuff. I listen to it, and if I'm at a party, right, or a combat night event, I'll dance to whatever's playing, But I'm not with it. There's nothing behind it. Um, there's nothing in, and hip hop always had silly songs. Don't get me wrong. They always had the club songs that were stupid and silly, and that's always going to be a part of hip hop. But there was no. There's a few guys that want to say something, but people don't want to listen to that. They don't want to listen to that conscious or that it's still out there. The good thing about nowadays is that there's so much platforms out there, and there's so many artists that you don't know who's who, and you don't know who's dope because like there's so many platforms: SoundCloud, YouTube, social media. That's the only good thing. But the guys that are really getting the mainstream, like 8 out of 10 of them are just like, okay, what are you doing?
Suspect.
And it's like sad. It's like depressing stuff too. It's like it's real depressing hip hop, and I guess it's a genre in hip hop that I'm not too familiar with, but it's just like weird. I love hip hop no
Damn.
matter what. I'll listen to every album that comes out. Like every album that come out, like Juice World. He passed away a few years ago. Listening to him after he passed, I realized, what? This guy was a dope MC. Like honestly, he was a dope MC, but he made a few silly songs to get out there and get known and try to bring the young crowd. But I listen to everything, and it's just like I end up sticking to my old school stuff. You know, like most of the time, I listen to my old
All
school
right,
stuff.
so should I give Bad Bunny a chance?
100% give him a chance.
Because
100%.
I, I can say this, and I don't think a lot of people can say this. Like, I haven't listened to a single Bad Bunny song,
You
not
should.
one.
You know, I when he first started coming out, I was like, okay, who is this guy? Trap, Latino. Okay, what is that? All right. And then I saw what he was wearing. It was like weird stuff, right? And then it caught attention, right? It caught attention. Like, what is he wearing? You know, what is he dressed like a girl? Whatever. Okay. But then the past 4 years, he started dropping some good topic stuff. You know, about domestic abuse and all that. If you see behind the silliness, and now he's at the point where he's just having fun and just like making records from his heart. Um, Not only for Puerto Rico, but just like Latin America in general. He's using a lot of Dominican beats, right? Like a lot of Dominican beats, and just putting on for them. You know, like give him a chance. Like that last album, Un Verano Sin Ti, is like it has a mixture of everything: dance, you know, relationship, um, intercourse or whatever. Just feel good music, positive music, and it's just a mixture of everything, different kinds of beats, and I like that he kind of changed reggaeton. Like he changed reggaeton from the you know, Daddy Yankee, and then this new wave of him and another cat named Manuel. I don't like him too well, but he's more hip hop, like hip hop Spanish. But give Bad Bunny a chance, bro. That guy he's off the hook, man. Like and if you look up his history, he came from nothing, and he just loved music, and now he's making the music, and now not only is he the number one Latino artist in the world, he's the number one artist in general. The guy just opened the Grammys, and I think it's the first time you get a Latino hip hopper, right, to open the Grammys at that level. Like people know who he is.
I feel like I just got to give him a chance just for that.
Yeah, give him a chance, man. Like you may not even dig it, but just like you got to listen to it. Like me, I critique these guys, but I listen to it. 21 Savage, the guy, I like the guy when he's featured on other people's song. When when he's by himself on a song, I can't listen to the whole song. I can't I can't listen
But
to
when
it.
he's a feature, you're like, oh, that
When
was
he's a
just the right
feature,
amount.
when he's a feature,
Just a sprinkle.
yeah, because he's like comes up with, you know, I guess it's a little bit of competitiveness. Like, all right, I got to make sure my verse is better than the next guy. But when he's on his own, like I don't like it. Future, I'm not a big fan of Future. The Migos, I'm not a fan of the Migos unless they're featured on somebody where they make like, okay, that's cool, man. Good 16 bars, keep it going, you know. But that you know, I listen to everything. You know, the state of hip hop. I just like that hip hop is more mainstream now, um, and people are more in tune to hip hop now. Because hip hop is not only rap. Hip hop is a culture. It's you know, the way that we do business, the way that we dress, rapping, dancing, you know, poetry. It used to be graffiti, but now graffiti has turned into the art world. Because I'm pretty sure your cousin Willie, what up, Willie, can tell you about Wynwood, Miami, and your dad can tell you about Wynwood,
Bro, that place
Miami.
used to be the ghetto, bro. Like I remember going to the like AAA, like to see a Heat
Yeah,
game, and my
yeah,
dad would put his 9 on the dash because he needed people to know, like, hey, no, 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 this ain't the one. Because if not, like you stop at a red light and that was it. Like I remember rolling through red lights, like going to AAA, dog. And now you go and it's like
it's an art district.
it's the art
It's
district. It's
literally
this.
called the
It's where
art
everyone
district
wants to
in
be.
Miami. Yep,
Yeah, the Wynwood Art District. That was not, bro. That was
that was the
the
ghetto,
ghetto. Like that was hood.
bro. As far back as maybe 2010, it was still like that's when it started changing and getting gentrified. But yeah, man, you
That's
know,
how quick these things change. And the gentrification is like from you wouldn't stop at a red light to now a 1 bedroom apartment on like the first floor is gonna cost you 3 grand a month.
yeah, it's crazy.
Like,
It's
let alone you want to get a penthouse, dog. You in the penthouse is 10 racks. Like
yeah,
it's
that's insane. But you
yeah,
know,
it's changed.
that's how that's that aspect, that element of hip hop where it used to be artwork, graffiti, you know, in the streets. It kind of changed and it got more, how can I say, uh, more correct, more. educated, more business attire, and it went from graffiti to art. Now they're doing art exhibits, ran by people that grew up in the hip hop culture. Jay Z's collecting art, P Diddy's collecting art, and all these guys that we grew up. Nas is big into art now, where that's
Bro, those are all tax write-offs.
oh yeah, but I'm pretty sure yes there are tax write-offs, but there's got to be a little bit of love in there to drop $6 million on an art painting and all that. It may be tax write-offs, but it lets you know how far hip hop has the journey that it's at now. You know, like it went from doing graffiti and writing graffiti on your school desk and on the
Tagging.
walls,
I had a tag back in the day, bro.
to now these guys are doing art exhibits and people are paying $1,000 for like art dinners, a plate, and all that. So that's the good things about hip hop. You know, it's just there's always gonna be good and bad. You know, the music, it's not the best right now, but I feel like there's another wave that's coming that's gonna change that for sure.
Nice. Yo, speaking like about another wave, John Jones coming back again?
Oh my God, that is a heavyweight, and it's always scary because like every time John Jones leaves, he comes back and he dominates, man. And then it's like, how many times are you gonna write this guy off until he gets written off? So right, again, we find ourselves like, John Jones the greatest. Oh no, he's a heavyweight now. So there's a new challenge now. He's gonna fight a guy he's gonna have to wrestle him. But knowing John Jones, bro, like this guy's taller than him. John Jones may have the longer reach. I haven't looked at the stats.
I think he does, yeah.
John Jones has obviously the jiu-jitsu and wrestling pedigree because Cyril got out wrestled by Francis. You know, I mean,
He got manhandled.
he got manhandled. Francis could out wrestle me. You know what I'm saying? But to out wrestle another guy that's like his size, you know, like I'm not taking anything away from Ghani, but he got out wrestled by Francis with a bum knee. Like he had no knee.
Yeah, and isn't Gali coming off of a bum knee himself? Like,
I don't know because I think he fought again. He fought and he knocked the guy out, and he looked sensational in that fight. And we don't know, man. I know there's a lot of money
it's just
tossed up there. John Jones, I'm excited to see. There's rust, obviously there's rust, but John Jones is one of those once in a generational fighter that aggravates me because has all the talent in the world, but you can see that he only uses about 60% of his talent, just like Tyson in his prime. Tyson
or
never
BJ Penn.
or BJ Penn, but Tyson never used 100%. He was on because when he was with Cus D'Amato, he was on his way there, but in his prime, Cus D'Amato was dead, and at that time there was nobody controlling him, so he was really using maybe 70% of his talents. Of his skills. So
That's
what I see
the
with John Jones.
the thing about John Jones, and in this matchup in particular, like I almost feel like Gali's the perfect matchup for him because he has all the hype. He just does everything that John Jones does, but like just not as good, right? Like he's an artistic type striker that attacks from different angles, but like John Jones is invented that. Like John Jones was that before you. Like not only that, but he's longer. Then you add a wrestling pedigree that Gali has no idea how to. So like at any given moment, if John Jones really is struggling, he can just revert back to being a wrestler and
Yeah, close the distance
and that's it. Fight's over. Like he's just gonna beat you up. Whereas like Gali needs a lot to work in his favor that like is out of his own control for him to win this fight. Like I feel like he's gotta make contact or really use his weight because it's not even length, right? Like I feel like he has to almost fight like a Randy Couture type where he's like
dirty.
pushing him up against the wall and that's not who he is. Like we've never seen him fight like that. So like then we're gonna ask him to finally try and fight like that against the best guy that's ever fought. It's tough, man.
It's tough. Ghani does have good footwork, and on paper, Ghani has a better striking, right? But we say that all the time, has a better striking. But at any moment, it's mixed martial arts, a flying knee, head kick, anything can happen, and the fight's over. Another thing we have to factor is this is the first time that John Jones is fighting at heavyweight. And you know, at heavyweight, you may not have the best striking in the world, but if one of those damn fists land, it's over. You know, so it's going to be very interesting. That right there brings intrigue. You know, I got Jones, but you just never know in mixed martial arts. You know, we've seen it all the time.
Yeah, nothing's 100%, but I think at this point everyone is kind of leaning towards John Jones, and really what everyone's leaning towards is John Jones win, and then like Dana, like break out the fucking checkbook, bro. We want to see Francis Ngannou and John Jones, because like the one thing that like Gali doesn't have is like that flash, like done, right? Like he's more of a TKO guy.
TKO, build up for the finish.
Yeah, which is what John Jones is. John Jones is that too. He's a TKO guy. So what I want to see is, you know, the guy that, you know, if he touches you with this, you're dead. You know, reference Alistair Overeem and John Jones, because like if John Jones wins that fight, that's the only fight you have left to make, right? Like who are you going to have John Jones fight after that?
There's Stipe. It won't generate as much money, but Stipe's a tough matchup. Maybe a tough matchup. I think he got his bell rung too many times by Francis, but he beat Francis, but then Francis knocked him out. And sometimes you don't recover when you get hit by a guy like him.
And the other thing too is like, how do you sell that? Like, Gali's the number one contender realistically, right?
Yeah.
So if he's your number one guy, and then you let the guy walk off the street, and if John Jones does what I think John Jones is about to do to this man, the only fight that you'll have left is Francis Ngannou.
And I think they'll do anything to get him if he's not locked down. I think what Francis is doing is waiting. He may do a box. He's looking for Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua or Wilder boxing match, because boxing, these guys are going to get 20 million off the rip.
Oh yeah,
30 million off the rip, and then he'll come back to MMA, and eventually, if Jones wins in dramatic fashion, like just like dominating fashion, if he wins in dominating fashion decision, they'll make that fight happen. If he wins in devastating, they will for sure make that fight happen. That's why I wish like the Fertitta brothers were still owner, because they would have been like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna make this fight happen, whether we like it or not. You did mention Gane closing the distance and being heavy on Jones. I don't think that happens with a guy like Jones. He wants that. He wants to.
Yo, your audio went off.
Did it?
Yeah, that was better. Yeah, that's better.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gane doesn't want to close the distance on Jones, because Jones, we've seen Jones many times fight at close distance for whatever reason. Elbows, you know, he's just real good at close distance. Can you hear me?
You're like breaking up.
Yo.
There, when you're close to it like that, it's fine.
Is that better?
Yep.
I'm not on Wi-Fi or anything.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, just all things being equal, I just think that we're gonna end up in a place where the only fight that makes sense is you know, Ngannou and Jones. Now, the cool thing is, and for legacy wise, if Gali can figure out a way to win, he's the man that beat John Jones, right? Like, so you get to write your check after that.
He'll beat John Jones, but he'll never generate a lot of money. Like, he'll generate money, but he won't get that Francis fight. That Francis fight won't be as big. You know, like there won't be a lot of money generated, honestly.
Yeah, and because it's because he already lost to Francis, so there's no like that rematch, that hype match isn't at heavyweight. It's hard because you can't. There's not as big of a runway, right? Like when you lose at lightweight, like you can, bro. It sucks, but you're gonna go back down the totem pole, and then you're gonna have to run through 5 or 6 dudes, and you're gonna have all these flashes of brilliance in front of the audience. At heavyweight, there's just not that many men that are in MMA that are at that level that weight over 265 pounds. So it's like 1 or 2 and you're fighting for a title again. Like that runway's short.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just one of those things. But man, all things being equal, I want to see Ngannou Jones. Just
yeah, me too.
I want to see it.
That's a good match.
Yeah.
Man. That's a good fight right there. And then you can yeah, definitely. imagine that Francis Ngannou, and let's say Connor comes back and he wins, put Connor on the card. Oh my lord, how much money that card will make?
Nuts.
Ridiculous amount.
But you know, the other thing I wanted to talk to you too about is I have a lot of respect for you as a father, and so I just wanted to like especially like I'm raising two young men, and I just wanted to put it out there like how are you navigating this landscape, because like the world that we grew up in and the world that like your boys are growing up in and even the world that my boys are about to grow up in,
Yeah.
they're so different, bro, so different from.
It's very different because we grew up with how do you say, con la mano dura, right? Like our parents were
Mhm.
real hands on, right? For all the right reasons, right? Because we were just dumbass kids and mischievous kids, and mom would be like, "Don't cross the street." Okay, mom, and then you cross the street, right? So it is a different time. Um, I do spank my kids. I try not to all the time. I try to communicate with them because I feel like growing up, my parents didn't talk to me, and also my parents didn't show me a lot of love like that. So again, it goes back to what I said in the beginning. Everything that I grew up and I watched that my family didn't do, I'm doing now as an adult with my own family. Like I said, I would always do. But it's definitely times are different, man. I try to talk to my kids and I try to tell them, okay, this is why you don't do this. This is why you don't say this. Don't do this. Don't do that. This is why you want to do this. And I feel like they understand that better. My youngest, he's crazy. My oldest is very, very smart. He just talks a lot, but it's good because there was a point where we thought he had a speech impediment, right? And then it was just the fact that I was young, but not young. I was 22, 23 with a young kid when our friends didn't have kids at that age, like at our age, right? So he didn't hang around other kids. So it was like a social skill. But once we put him in daycare, now you can't get him to be quiet, and he's always telling you facts. I find myself at this part of my life right now where I have a 6-year-old and I have a 12-year-old. That one is started elementary and then the other one started middle school. I find out I was a few months ago or even like a year, I kept dreading this next phase. Can you hear me? Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's like breaking up again.
It can't be on my end. Think it's my end?
Maybe because when you bring it closer to you, I can hear you clearly.
Is this better right here?
Yeah.
That's weird. What I was trying to say is I find myself the last year, this part of my life where my kids are 6 and 12. They need me. They need dad, right? Mom and dad, but they need dad more at home. I don't know if you
Let me try something real quick.
Yeah. Is that better?
All right.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know
Well, I don't
what
know.
happened there. But yeah, fatherhood, man, is crazy. I wanted to spend more time with my kids, so I took a big leap of faith in my life. Another one, because I did one 7 years ago, and it's been a blessing. And I recently took another leap of faith. Sorry, and I took that leap of faith because I find myself in my part of life right now where I think I'm in a good place. I got everything I ever wanted in my life. I never thought I'd get, and I find myself in a spot where I sit back and discuss with my wife, and I was like, "Hey, I'm willing to take a pay cut to spend more time with you guys, to spend more time with my wife, and to spend more time with my kids because I feel like once my oldest is in middle school, um, you remember middle school. Middle school is insane. That's when you really open up your eyes as a kid. Um, I was just like dreading that for a year, bro. I was like, man, he's about to go to middle school. my youngest about to go to elementary. Like, I need to make a change, you know. So I made a change and I switched careers, um, and it's in God's hands now. You know, I do what I've always done, and it's grind and provide for my family. But it's in God's hand, and what He has written for me that that will lead the way. Um, and hopefully, I didn't. I'll never feel like I made a mistake because I just want more time with my family, and you know. But fatherhood changed that, man. You know, fatherhood uh, changes a lot of things, and I feel like it matures people way faster than anything. Because like I never thought that I'd find myself. I never thought I'd love another human, let alone two other humans, like more than anything in this world. Yeah, we love our spouses, right? We love our wives and stuff like that. But like, I feel like I would walk through fire for my kids. Like I really feel that I would do that for them. You know, the ultimate sacrifice. And you know, sometimes I stand in front of my house and I just like I'm like, damn, you know, like I just reflect. I pull into the driveway. I don't even walk in. I just stand in front of my house and I just look. And it's like 10, 15 minutes, and I think to myself, I'm like, man, you know, like I thank the man above, and you know, I pray, you know, that my kids are healthy. You know, we have a home. My wife is healthy, and stuff like that. Because man, it's just crazy what we'll do for our children, man. You know, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I would not change it for the world. You know, for real.
Man, it's nuts. Yeah, I mean, I like I do something similar. It's just like at night, like I'll just walk into their room, and I'm sure if they ever wake up, it'll look creepy as hell because I'm just standing there over there. But I'll like stare over them and like just think like, holy shit, like I'm your dad,
Yeah.
and like I'm hard on them. Like I'm fun, but I'm also hard on them. Like
Yep.
I want my kids to grow up a certain way. I want them to know that like they should be strong. I want them to know that they should be righteous. I want them to know that like they should do these things. Like, bro, I want you to know that like you don't have to be violent, but you should be capable of it, because
Yep.
that's the difference of like whether or not you're righteous or not, right? Because like if you're not capable of doing those things, then you choosing not to do those things isn't righteous. That's not your choice. Like you don't have the capacity to go knock someone out. So it didn't matter for you. That was never an option.
Yeah.
But the difference that makes someone righteous and makes someone good and makes someone chivalrous, the reason why we look up to knights is because those knights were capable of doing it. Those knights were capable of going and winning a fight and beheading another dude, but they chose not to. Like that's the difference. Like the difference between good and bad and it isn't is a choice. Like you're capable of both. But if you're not capable of it, then you never got that choice. I want them to be capable, but I want them to know that like being under control and like that's where like the true righteousness comes from. Like that's where being a man comes from. Like it'd be easy for me to be abusive. It would be easy for me to hit people. It would be easy for me. It's hard to be in control, but it's in that control that true manhood is.
Yeah. Word.
Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense, man. And I used to do that too, man. Walk into their room and just like just checking on them and stuff like that. It's just like surreal, to be in this position that we're in right now. You know, we never would have thought this in high school, or even after high school when we got tighter. It's a good place to be. Now, something about parenthood is, well, our like I realize now that I did test my parents' patience a lot. You know what I'm saying? And
Oh yeah.
I did a lot, and our kids, do that. And I give it up to your wife because you guys have beautiful twins, and with what I was doing and what you're still doing as far as a career, it's tough because you work a lot, and for her to do it alone for many years now, she, you know, being a first time parent and to do it alone for you know for years. Now she has a lot of help, which is great. You know, she's awesome. You know, and she's very very strong because I can't imagine you know the 6 years difference in my children, and my wife was like stressing out. You know, was just 6 years apart. You know, and that's a 6 year old and the newborn. I can't imagine what it's like to 8 month old children, that are like, you know,
Bro,
walking around or whatever.
there was,
So
we used to
that's
have a
that's
countdown,
awesome.
bro, like in my household, and the countdown was like how long we could survive. So it was like, yo, we just got to get to the end of this month, like, and we'll be 1 month in, like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we just got to get to 90 days. Hey, we just got to get to six. We stopped counting down when they were like one and change, because it was like even at one, we're like, we just got to get to like 16 months, right? Like that's 1.5. And then like, oh man. And I remember like, it was funny because I was sitting on the couch with her not too long ago and we were just like, yo, we stopped counting down. Like, she's like, yeah, yeah, I got this. I got this.
Yeah.
It's like, all right,
That's
Thug.
that's awesome, man. That's all character right there. And another thing is like, what I tell young parents or like new parents is patience. Patience is everything. Um, Everything is a phase with kids. If they're crying and you don't know why they're crying, you change their diapers and you burp them and all that. They're not gonna do that forever. It's gonna be hell for a week, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever the case may be. But it's a phase. So get over that. That's what I tell them. I say, everything is a phase. Everything happens so fast. Patience is everything, and also make sure that you're giving your spouse as much attention as you are the children, because that's important there too. That's very important.
Hey. Well, man, I just want to thank you sincerely for your time. Thank you for, hopping on with me. You were still my most interesting friend, my brother.
Hey, I want to say, Eric, I love you, man. Like I really do, man. And I do look up to you a lot, and I always looked up to you, whether it was jujitsu or even real life situation, because I always admire your drive and your willingness and your determination, and whatever it was that you wanted to do, whatever it was, whether it was school, jujitsu, work, um, parenthood, marriage, everything. I admire you, and I learn from every single one of my friends. And I know we joke around all the time, and stuff like that. But when it gets real, we can always rely on each other. So thank you, man. I love you, dude.
Hey, I love you too, my brother. Take it easy.
All right, man. Peace. Thanks for having me on. Good night.